Good evening, welcome to the home of football, welcome to Monday night, welcome to another fans forum, live and exclusive on Arsenal Player. Great to have you with us, not least because I'm sure, like me, you've been kind of coasting around really the last couple of days. I should, at my age, it should mean less to me. How is it that I watched my team win 6-1 on a Saturday, and I know that's me set up for the week, or certainly set up until tomorrow night when we are away to Montpellier in our first game in the Champions League. We are here to talk about the Arsenal, and in order to do so, all you need to do is call 0207 607 3200. That's the number, get you through direct to the home of football. 0207 607 3200, and we will get you on air to the Arsenal speaking world. You can email us too. The email address is fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal and the hashtag is Arsenal Live. Delighted to say we're joined in the studio this evening for the first time this season by the one, the only, old school, and I mean that in the best possible way. Man who's been covering Arsenal home and away for, he wouldn't thank me to remind you how long he's been doing it, but it's great to have him with us. The Sunday Mirror's Steve Stammers is our guest on the Fans Forum tonight. We do, as always, have a little something by way of added value as well. Tonight's competition. Yes, we did beat Southampton by 6-1 on Saturday, and I'm sure we'll talk about that and all the things that come out of it. And perhaps it won't just be a case of patting ourselves on the back for an hour and a half, but there were some very, very interesting things to come out of Saturday's game. But we've got the programme from Saturday signed by Saturday's matchday analyst, the one, the only, Nigel Winterburn. And seeing as it's Nigel's smudge on the cover, you'll not be surprised to hear that the question is about the man himself. Want to know, from which club did Arsenal sign Nigel Winterburn? From which club did Arsenal sign Nigel Winterburn? To enter, we need your name and address, obviously, so we can identify you and, more to the point, get you that signed programme away. We also need the right answer. And all three need to come via email to our dedicated email address for competition entries. That is fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. Good luck with that, and I will of course be offering one or two reminders over the course of the evening. But right now it's whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's the Arsenal. That'll do for Steve and myself. 0207 607 3200 is the number, and Daniel is in Norwich. Daniel, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Hi Tom, hi Steve.
Good evening.
Just mainly rang. I was at the game Saturday, great result. Delighted at how it started. But no players like Cazorla, Podolski, Jovino have rightly received the plaudits. I just wanted to say what a game Gibbs had. Defensively solid, like he has been for the first 4 games, but going forward he was different class. I know it's taboo to mention him, but he was reminiscent of Ashley Cole at the time. Great that he's now fit to fulfill his potential that we know he could.
Yeah.
Steady running games, and we all remember the tackle he made against West Brom that secured third spot. Just wanted to know what you think, whether he should be undisputed left back for the season, or whether Santos should get a look in. Great going forward, but question defensively. Personally think Montpellier game would be a good chance for Santos to stake a claim. Cheers, Tom.
All right. No, Daniel, thanks for that. What do we think? See, I mean, you do love... Look, it's the same with us as with any other football club. You love one of your own.
Absolutely.
And Kieran Gibbs is one of our own, and he's had terrible luck with injuries since breaking into the team. At the moment, he looks like he could run and run all day. Let's make our decisions when he's played 20 times straight. And surely he'll get that chance now.
You would have thought so, Tom. And funnily enough, the one topic, when we were talking off camera, that really I think a big, huge impact this season will be the influence of Steve Bold and Neil Banfield, and that ties in with Gibbs because they were together with the youth team, Steve and Neil.
Yeah.
So, Kieran Gibbs will know exactly what's expected of him. And if, touch wood, as you said, he stays fit, you'll see the best of Kieran Gibbs. Because Steve Bold knows him, Neil Banfield knows him, they've known him as a kid, they've known him as a reserve. That will have a huge influence on him.
Yeah.
As for Santos, well, that's up to him now, isn't it? I mean, that's what you want at every club, 2 players for every position. And I mean, Daniel mentioned Ashley Cole, but that is what Chelsea have got, if you want. They've got Ryan Bertrand, who can play wide left midfield. They've got Ashley Cole at left back. Now, a couple of times last season, if I remember right. It was either for Mayan and Santos or Gibbs and Santos, but you can use Santos as a wide midfield player. I think what Arsene Wenger's got is choice now, and which a wider choice than he had last season. I think he would admit that he didn't make the best use of the August window. There were too many very late signings. He got his business done early. You've seen the benefit of it. Podolski's immediately adapted. Gervinho will be okay.
Gervinho or Giroud?
Giroud. I beg your pardon. Giroud will be okay. There were a couple of, I mean, if that had gone in against Stoke, you know, that's outrageous.
No, and it would have capped a great performance because he played really well.
It's not easy there against their centre-half.
No, exactly, and he gave him a fight. Daniel, thanks very much indeed for the call. Julian is in East London. Julian, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Marvellous performance by Arsenal on Saturday.
Yeah.
The back four was solid. Podolski, Cazorla, very influential the whole game. Magnificent teamwork. And I think we can't just... everybody did a great job. I mean, Steve Bold has been amazing since he came in. The back four has been great. Unfortunate that we conceded that one goal. Just a terrible mistake by Chesney.
Yeah, but in a way, the positive of that is it wasn't a problem with the defending. It was just an individual error.
Exactly. And everybody was hoping that, you know, we would keep a clean sheet because, you know, that's the first goal we've conceded this season. So credit goes to Steve Bold. Looking forward to the next game. It's good to see Kieran Gibbs and Jenkinson doing marvellous.
No, absolutely, yeah. And a couple of Arsenal supporters at fullbacks, you can't beat you. Julian, tell me, what did you think of Gervinho playing down the middle, where I think I'm right in saying he's not played, certainly, you know, competitive football. He hasn't played that position for Arsenal before. What did you make of him?
I think when Gervinho was playing in France, he was more of a forward player.
Yeah, more of a central striker.
So it's been quite difficult for him to adjust to playing more to the left side.
Yeah.
But I think he's doing well. He's doing well on that side. You know, he went to the right flanks a few times. He's causing defenders a lot of problems, and I think he's worked on his finishing as well. So Gervinho should be okay. Giroud, you know, we should give him time because Henry, when he came, he didn't start filming until November.
Yeah, that's a good point, Julian. Julian, I was talking to Robert Pires a couple of weeks ago, and he says for a front player, and he recalled Thierry Henry coming to join up with the French team because he joined the year before Robert came. And he said, you won't believe what the football's like there. So that would have been about the first international break, September, October, whatever it was, 95? No, 99, sorry. And that's right, he came from Juventus, didn't he? And Thierry Henry met up and said, I don't know where I've gone. You know, it's so different. Rob Pires found the same. And he said to me, Robert, it's going to be 3-4 months before you see the best from Podolski and Giroud. And one other thing, I mean, I've seen a lot of Arsenal over the years, but you see them every game. I thought the most important thing, all right, so they weren't quite firing at home to Sunderland, didn't quite come off away at Stoke, but last season or the season before, that had 0-1 written all over it,
absolutely.
Or 1-0 written all over it. And this year, well, if we're not going to win, we're certainly not going to lose. And you can see, that's what I was talking about, the influence of, I mean, you would not want to go into a dressing room and meet Steve Bold in a bad mood. In fact, you don't really want to meet him in a good mood, to be honest with you. But, you know, he's got that kind of presence. And a lot of those would have known him. People like Gibbs would have played for him. And Walcott and Oxlade-Chamberlain, they would have played for him. They know what's expected.
No, absolutely. Thanks very much indeed for the call, Julian. Ash is in Colindale. Ash, welcome to the home of football.
Yeah, I just wanted to just to let you know that how pleased regarding all the British players in the team, because everyone's talking about Podolski and Cazorla, but I think Gibbs, especially Jenkinson, before the Liverpool game, he fronted up and said, you know, we're going to go there and it will show what we can do. And you got Theo. Ramsey and obviously Chamberlain, and you've got Wilshere to come in as well.
Yeah.
And you know, you mentioned Steve Bold, but all those English and British players, come a February cold evening, they're not going to be part of the woolly glove brigade. They're going to be there fighting for the cause, and that is so pleasing.
No, absolutely. And I do think you have to say as well, I think, you know, if you look at, you're absolutely right on that point. And the thing that I like at them, I just look and I like the mentality, and you're right about that kind of core of English players. I think you could also say the same thing about the two German players we've got in the team at the moment. I think Mertesacker and Podolski, in terms of mentality, you know, they might not be the most skillful, most accomplished footballers you will ever see in your life, but in terms of mentality, they are absolutely perfect.
Absolutely.
They are, you know, they're just, in their different ways, because they play in different positions, I just think their attitude to the game is so, you know, and Podolski in particular, you know, he comes out of the tunnel going, well, I might not be the best player on the pitch today, but I'm going to make sure nobody works harder than me. Well, and I just think that...
The one reservation of all the signings I had going into this season was Podolski. And let me explain. I'm not saying he's not a good player. You don't play that many times for Germany, and not, you know, the same argument with Mertesacker. What kind of worried me about Podolski, or concerned me, didn't worry me, it concerned me, was that he scored loads of goals for Cologne, got a move to Bayern, was there 3 years, and scored 5 goals in 3 years for a striker. Not good when you're playing for Bayern. Might have been a lot of reasons, injury. There was also the theory that maybe he can't handle a big club like Bayern. They don't get any bigger in Germany. They may not be champions, they're still the biggest club. He then went back to Cologne and scored a hatful of goals. So then you begin to think, well, is it just you know, the big club mentality? Cologne, he felt, it's a far more homely club than Bayern Munich in that sense. But he's come here, and I'm delighted that he's proved me wrong.
Well, and the thing is,
that goal at Liverpool is important, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But to be fair, it's, you know, you look at his record at Cologne, you look at his record at international level, and this is his chance to prove doubters wrong.
Well, he's done it to me. I mean, I'll put my hands up to that. I thought he would struggle out of the two of them. Again, speaking of Rob Pires, when he gave an interview a couple of weeks ago, he thought Giroud was absolutely perfect. You know, with his build and his hold-up play and everything else. He said he'll fit in probably quicker than Podolski. Well, it was Pires, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Footballers, you can't talk to them about football,
no,
can you?
Exactly.
Thanks very much indeed for the call, Ash. Great point. Email. You can email us anytime, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, and we'll get as many of them read out on air as we possibly can. Daniel Matthews says, hey, Tom. Hey, Daniel. I've been a massive fan of Wojciech Szczesny since he broke into the first team, but with Vito Mannone looking confident and assured versus Stoke and Liverpool, who do you think should be the #1 this season? Yeah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
As my old mum, who's still around, says the man who never made a mistake never made anything, and Szczesny doesn't make that many mistakes. He had a poor Euro, but I think the whole thing got to, I think the whole occasion got to him. If they'd have been playing anywhere but Poland with the expectancy and the crowd and everything else, I think that affected him a bit. But Szczesny's been outstanding. You know, he's a terrific goalkeeper.
No, he is, and he's going to be a better goalkeeper. And I was reading...
He's only young for a goalkeeper.
No, absolutely, absolutely. But, you know, I was reading a thing with Gianluigi Buffon the other day, who said, if you're a top goalkeeper, you can afford to make 3 or 4 mistakes a year.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, that's one.
And it doesn't matter if you make 1,000 great saves.
Exactly.
What makes you a great goalkeeper is making only 3 or 4 mistakes. It was a Rick. Do you think, I mean, I'm in agreement, I think Wojciech Szczesny is the natural #1, but do you think it's a little hard on, you know, Vito Mannone gone to Stoke and to Anfield and kept clean sheets? Do you think he might have thought, I've got to get a go at home to Southampton?
You would have thought so, but, I mean, the parallels there are a lot of other clubs, to be honest with you. All right, so I know Robert Green didn't have the happiest time when QPR played Swansea. But, you know, he'd been signed on a free transfer and been given order. He's out. Yeah. You know, I don't think any of the goals at Manchester City were particularly down to Manchester City put 3 past anyone on their day. And he brings straight in Julio Cesar. Tottenham have just signed the French captain on the bench. I think players, if they want to be at a top club, and Arsenal, top 4 club for 15 years, absolutely fantastic record, remarkable record. I really wish a lot of Arsenal fans would absorb the achievement rather than perhaps harp on and on and on about not winning the Carling Cup or the equivalent. This is a really good squad. And I looked at this squad at the start and I thought that this team is going to win something big this season. I really sense that, and I think this is the strongest squad they've had for some time because they've got competition everywhere. And they can rest players. They can leave Giroud out, maybe. Diaby didn't play Saturday, did he?
No.
He'll play tomorrow night. And 100% he'll play tomorrow night.
Apparently he could have played if needs be.
Absolutely, but that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And you win 6-1 without him.
Yeah.
So he's just got choice now. And just one further little point, if I could make it. I don't believe in bad luck, but sometimes you can be unfortunate. Arsenal had last season, I think I counted up, I think I'm right, 11 injuries that needed surgery.
Yeah.
Right. And that's nothing to do with the medical team, which is one of the best. That's nothing to do with the training, because it's not affecting them for 14 years. Why should it suddenly affect them in the 15th? It's just pure bad luck. It's the way you land. It's a tackle. It's a bad tackle. It's a bad sprain. It's a number of things. But 11.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. No team. Look at Manchester United without their centre-half.
Yeah.
One player, that was. Vidic gets injured against Basel. End of story.
Yeah. Couple of calls lined up. Let's take those. We'll take those one after the other, and have your say, and we'll come back as and when. First, let's talk to Dan, who's in Exeter. Dan, welcome to the home of football. Fire away, mate.
Hi, guys.
Hiya.
Good evening.
Hiya. I just want to say what a great performance on Saturday. An absolute, everybody was saying how we needed goals, and we certainly got them in abundance on Saturday. I just want to make a point that I was listening to the game on Arsenal player. I noticed how subdued the stadium seemed, how very, the fans didn't seem, let's just say, didn't seem to get behind the team as much as in other games when we haven't done as well. And I think it's been on the players, but the fans have got to do their bit as well. Come on, we've got to get behind this team, and for a team that was winning, 4-5-1 at times, we just seemed, the stadium seemed sounded a bit quiet.
We'll come to that in just a moment. Dan, thank you. Davina is in Hereford. Davina, welcome to the home of football.
Hiya.
Hiya.
Well, I was very impressed. It was worth getting up 6 in the morning to see 6-1.
Fair play to you.
They were brilliant. Although I would like to say the best player of all of them, actually, just for his little cameo, was Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah, wasn't it a great bit of the setup for the last goal? It was a fantastic bit of skill, wasn't it?
It was brilliant, because I've said that I don't think he was that great, but if he comes on and does that, he's got a real headache who he puts in the middle with Wilkes coming back and Frimpong, and he's got so many possibilities, but I thought he did so well, considering he does get a lot of stick, Ramsey, and it's brilliant. He should have got the goal, but unfortunately he didn't quite.
Yeah.
But Davina, don't you think that it just illustrates the point that you don't have to play Diaby when he's not 100%. You can give him a rest.
Okay.
You can start without Ramsey. You can now bring Diaby in Montpellier and maybe start with Ramsey. Give someone else a break. Play Walcott instead of Oxlade-Chamberlain. You need those choices. If you're going to push for the league title, you're going to need those choices. And all the top teams, Manchester City, Chelsea, Manchester United, have got those choices.
Yeah.
They hit 4 without, I mean, I can say it, you can't, Van Persie and Rooney. Start with Hernandez and Welbeck. They still get 4. That's what Arsenal are getting towards, that they can leave Giroud out. You've had a break, now have a look and come back in. They could do it with Ramsey, they can do it with Diaby, and that's what Arsene Wenger hasn't had before, for one reason or another. Injuries or what have you.
Davina, thanks very much indeed for the call. What about Dan's point about the atmosphere around this? I just had the feeling that Saturday was one of those where, to be honest, you're 4-0 up and it was like everybody had a cigar on.
You're going to find, exactly, you will find that criticism, if you want to call it that. No, let's make it an observation. A lot of the big grounds, and I'm talking Old Trafford, Emirates, to a certain extent Chelsea can hold 45, Manchester City certainly, they are a quiet crowd now. Because it's not the type of support, that's too, kind of cliched, but there are people there who aren't if you want, the bread and butter fans who want to stand behind the goal and see basically nothing of the game but just be close to the action. There are more and more other people who aren't the cheering, passionate sort, but they want to be entertained and they pay their money and they'll cheer. But unless it's, Manchester United, Arsenal, or Arsenal, Chelsea, you won't get that vibrancy. I thought that was pretty noticeable. I watched Match of the Day when I came in from QPR Chelsea. Mind you, that was a venomous atmosphere. That was awful. You really wouldn't want that. But I thought Old Trafford was quiet. That's how it came over.
No, it's true, and obviously
5,000 people there. You could hear a pin drop. There was 18,000 at Loftus Road, Tom. Sorry, there was 18,000. You couldn't hear yourself think.
No, absolutely.
So it depends on the type of fan, the type of game.
Yeah, and it depends. I mean, away support is still, Southampton supporters were here in fairly good numbers, and
they would have sold out their end, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and kind of sang most of the game, and and that's what you do. And they were kind of criticising the Arsenal support. I tell you what, they're in for a treat when the Arsenal go down there, because nobody beats the Arsenal away from home.
What struck me, and I watched the match live on telly in the Liverpool-Arsenal, you could really hear the Arsenal fans.
Away from home there's nobody to touch us. But it's like you're saying, it's not even to do with the type of people, it's to do with the circumstances. Away from home, you're standing up all the time. It's a whole day is about the 90 minutes.
You've had a nightmare on the motorway going
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And that is why the hardcore fans, and I'm not talking that in a nasty way, I'm talking about the real, they'll get up, and have all the motorway roadworks getting home at 7 o'clock, 7:30 from Liverpool.
And Davina, fair play, gets up at 6 o'clock to get out from Hereford. Fair play. Elliot is in Toronto. Elliot, welcome to the home of football. Good to talk to you.
Good to see you guys again. It's great to speak to you. Great effort from the Emirates on Saturday. Great team effort. But I just want to speak about looking forward now. The upcoming test against Man City and Chelsea. How should us supporters be gauging them? If we do as well as we can, are we considered title contenders? Are we just going through the motions at the moment? I'm just trying to think how we should see those two matches are coming.
No, gotcha. Elliot, it's a terrible line, but I've got your point. Thank you very much indeed for the call. Where does, we will be, let me see, Manchester City away, Chelsea at home will be our 5th and 6th games of the season, respectively. What do those games mean in the context of 38 games and, whether Arsenal...
I think it's more to do with self-belief. If you get a result of any sort, a draw, well, you're going to get a result no matter what, but what I mean is a good result, i.e. a draw or a win at Manchester City, you've got to feel confident in yourselves. You have to. Excuse me. They are the champions. You've gone now, you've got a draw, you've got a win. You beat Chelsea, they spent another 600 million in the summer. Fair play comes in there, doesn't it? And you beat them. I think Arsenal got a pretty good record against Chelsea at home, haven't they?
Recently,
Yeah, I think so.
There's a different record.
Well, if you
Chelsea withdraw
say you've got
and
4
Chelsea
points
without.
from the 2 games, that would be a good.
Yeah.
So it's not so much you're not going to win the league in the end of September, but what you are, you're going to have a really good platform. Compare it to last season.
No, absolutely.
And still finishing 3rd, by the way, after that start.
But just looking at it, Steve, do you look at what's happened so far and say, well, if we do what we've done so far, we've got a big chance at City and a big chance at home to Chelsea? Or do you think there's going to need to be a big step up from, you beat what's in front of you, obviously, but home to Southampton and home to Chelsea are very different things. Away to Liverpool and away to Manchester City are very different things. Do you think there's a big jump in quality, application, whatever, that's going to be needed to get results in those 2 games? Or is it more a case of, on what you've seen, if we can stay at the level we've been at for the last 2 games, then we'll be good enough to compete?
If I was Arsenal, as a team going to Manchester City, let's assume, as I think they will, they get a decent result tomorrow night. I think they'll win maybe 2-0 or 2-1. Pressure off. In terms of Europe, you get that first win, and it's away from home in Europe. You know, you're almost on your way. But I'll tell you something. A couple of seasons ago, Manchester United won the league. Their record against the 4 teams just below them, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool, as it was then, as one of the top ones, was appalling. I think they only won one of those games. I think Arsenal took 4 points off them. Excuse me. They won the games they should win. And by that I mean they won 1-0 at Stoke. They beat West Brom away. Where the other teams were faltering, they won. As I said, I think they won the games they should have won. And that balanced out. And if you have a look, they had very poor results against the other top teams. They were, I think Arsenal beat them, and I think they drew up there, and Arsenal beat them here, or so, 1 or 2. I think Arsenal took 4 points off them. So, but for confidence, it'll be marvellous. I think it's a good barometer. If you go to Manchester City, put up a good performance, you could lose 1-0. Anyone can lose 1-0 at Manchester City with the players they've got and the choices they've got. That can happen. But if you put up a good performance, that's a good barometer. If Arsenal get 4 points from Sunday and the following Saturday, they'll be in really good shape, morally as well. I think they've got to. That's what I found encouraging, believe it or not, about drawing at home to Sunderland and drawing away at Stoke. No goals conceded, whereas I think maybe 2 years ago or last year they might have lost that 1-0. I think that's the difference.
No,
you don't lose it.
There was a moment in the Sunderland game where, from the first 5 minutes onwards, you know, Sunderland just decided to stop playing, and you know, it was like a sort of training ground exercise. And basically, we didn't do it quickly enough to actually make the difference. But then, about 2 minutes from the end, and I'm sure everybody who's there will remember it, Sunderland got a free kick on the edge of the Arsenal penalty area, over on the left-hand side of the penalty area, and someone leaned over to me and they went, "Do you know, this mob have been training all week for this?" You know, it was that kind of, and every Arsenal supporter went, how many times have we seen that? How many times? And actually cleared no problem. And we never, you know, and Stoke was unbelievable. We never looked, you know, we've been there enough times. You know what it looks like when you go to Stoke. And to be fair, we never looked in any danger of conceding whatsoever. And there is something different. Elliot, thanks very much indeed for the call, albeit on that horrible line. Hope you got your answer, though, nonetheless. 0207 607 3200 gets you through to myself and Steve Stammers from the Sunday Mirror. Anything you want to talk about, as long as it's the Arsenal, it'll do for Steve and myself. 0207 607 3200. We've got a line free now, so if you call now, you will get on, I think. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal, and the hashtag is fansforum. And speaking of Twitter, let's get a couple of those. At GB1886. Loving that. Podolski doesn't just add goals. His strength and tracking back makes him a valuable player going forward and backwards. At Freenix says he scores when he wants. He scores when he wants. Lucas Podolski, he scores when he wants. That is all, and that was a great chant after the free kick on Saturday. At ATU85, he has so much more to his game than we realise. Adds power, but at the same time, neat one-touch football. All of these, of course, about Lucas Podolski. At Neilest82, Podolski has brought more of a balance to our forward line, giving Gervinho a chance to show his real ability centrally. Quality. You can't say too much about Podolski just at the moment. He scored it absolutely right. He does a proper shift going back. You know, because our very first caller this evening was talking about how good Kieran Gibbs was looking on Sunday, and you know, looked good again at Anfield as well. And actually, so much of that, for me, so much of that is to do with Podolski.
Well, if he trusts the guy in front of him, you know, if he knows he can go forward, and that Podolski is both willing and able. I mean, he's not a Berbatov, is he?
No.
You know, Podolski will go, he's gone forward, I'll hold. I mean, he's bright enough, intelligent enough, and willing to do it, which is the important thing. He's a stocky guy as well, isn't he? He could close people down. I'm not saying he's the best tackler. He could do that. And the other thing, Tom, you've seen it as a a real Arsenal fan for so many years, no one was going to replace. I'll go back. Charlie George. No one was going to replace Ian Wright. No one was going to replace Dennis Bergkamp. No one was going to replace Thierry Henry.
Yeah.
No one was going to replace Van Persie. They've done it.
Yeah.
It happens. It evolves.
Yeah.
And Podolski and Giroud and Gervinho will be a nightmare for any Premier League defence to face. Robin, great, terrific while he was here. He's gone.
Yeah.
And I love the way that Arsene Wenger kind of just, okay, he's gone. We know what's going to happen. He's gone. I just think last summer was a peculiar one. It was a really strange one. Everyone knew Fabregas was going, but no one knew when. And for whatever reason, there's all sorts of speculation about though they couldn't sign someone until he'd gone, and they banked the money and all the rest of it. It was all left too late. And if you act in haste, you tend to repent at leisure. And I think that's what too many players, Benny, you and Arteta and someone else, I think, came in right at the last minute.
Santos, yeah.
Santos, all too last minute.
Yeah.
Whereas Podolski has had the benefit. One, Mertesacker already here, and he can tell him what it's like here, and he feels at home straight away. There wasn't that kind of. I just thought it was a panic up, And right in the middle of last season, at the start of last season, their most important result, Arsenal, was, believe it, winning away at Udinese. That was an incredibly good result, because that put them through.
Yeah.
And all right, so it took time after that because of suspensions, to Song and Gervinho from the Newcastle game, and it was, I've seen stronger reserve teams at Barnet go up than the one that was sent to Old Trafford, and that was just waiting to happen. This season, it just seems better prepared. New coaching, new ideas, better organisation.
No, absolutely.
Just choice everywhere, like we were saying. And Chesney will be thinking now, Manoni didn't do bad, I can't allow another one of those, going back to what Buffon said. If he does another one, either tomorrow night in Montpellier or at the Etihad on Sunday, Chesney will be thinking, oh, hang on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what's needed.
No, absolutely. 0207 607 3200 gets you through. You can email us fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal. The hashtag is fansforum, and you'll get through to, you get through to myself, you'll get through to Steve Stanners from the Sunday Mirror. More to the point, we'll get you on air to the Arsenal speaking world. Now, earlier on, a little bit earlier on, I spoke to Julian Harris from the excellent Gingers for Limpar, who had his own particular take on what's been going right at the Arsenal so far this season. Julian, thanks very much indeed for joining us on the Fans Forum. Julian, happy days. 6-1 on Saturday, albeit, you have to bear in mind the opposition. But Arsenal, a few people have been saying that Arsenal are looking quite sound at the back, and crediting Steve Bold with that. But I believe you have a rather different theory as to why Arsenal are looking so tidy at the back.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean it's not necessarily Dan's Bold. It might be him that's behind a lot of this. But yeah, I did notice on Saturday that basically without the ball we seem to be playing a 4-4-2 and often having a sort of very tight second bank of four in midfield, which sort of in recent seasons seems like a very un-Arsenal thing to be doing. And it's also a bit of a surprising when you think you've got Podolski there, who of course most of us see as the more attacking player, and even Oxlade-Chamberlain is a more attacking player, but they've been very disciplined. And even when they went 1-0 up against Southampton on Saturday, they still, when they didn't have the ball, were prepared to sit and to be quite, disciplined in a straight line and quite tight. And I thought that was interesting, that they're sort of confident enough to be able to sit and do that now. It's certainly, as I say, sort of very different to how the team would have played last season.
Yeah, and there is, there is no substitute for hard work. It's not the first time it's been mentioned this evening, but when you get a group of players as talented as Arsenal are, if they work as hard as opponents of the quality of Southampton, they will always win the football match, and that's what happened on, if anything, we worked hard, never mind the difference in quality, we actually worked harder than Southampton on Saturday.
Yeah, and one thing I really like is it's strange because in the pre-season game in Hong Kong, the defending was appalling, and it looked again like it was considered something secondary that didn't really matter. And I don't know what changed. I mean, a lot of players didn't go out there, but since then it's been the polar opposite. And I really like the fact that I remember when I used to sort of kick a ball around in the park, and one team would score, and then no one could be bothered to run back, and the other team would just score again. And sometimes last season it seemed a bit like that with Arsenal. Like the players, just didn't seem to put the effort in defensively. Whereas now it looks like they're really up for it when when a cross gets headed out or claimed by the keeper, they're kind of, sort of saying well done to each other, and they look a lot more motivated like that. And you're right, like the movement off the ball and everything on Saturday sort of, very much looked like a team that's kind of, focused and happy with itself and prepared to put in, as you say, like the hard work as well as just the pretty stuff.
I suppose it's impossible to tell, but do you think this is, is this everybody kind of being fresh at the start of a season, and maybe in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months' time, we won't see these same levels of application? Or do you think there's actually been a change of mood around the place, change of mood amongst the group?
It's really hard to tell. I mean, there were points in previous seasons when we sort of pressed very hard in certain games, and the team, were very hard working. And then at other times it wouldn't happen. So like you say, it's kind of difficult to sort of jump to quick conclusions, especially, before we play City and Chelsea and teams like this. I mean, one thing that's interesting is that there does seem to be, there have been a few quotations come out recently from the boss and a couple of players kind of saying that the squad does seem very settled and seem very focused, and maybe there is some truth in that. Maybe there is, we've got a lot of players as well who are kind of in their late 20s now, and they tend to think, now's the time to start winning stuff. And I mean, I don't know really, I can't be sure, but hopefully that is a kind of psychological change in the squad.
Julian, we're all hoping, mate. Great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us on the Fans Forum tonight. That's Julian Harris from Gingers for Limper. Absolutely right. It is more about than what the back four does when it comes to not conceding. Fingers crossed. We'll be doing our share of defending when we need to tomorrow night in Montpellier, and at the Etihad on Sunday as well. And back live at the home of football, it is the Fans Forum, this and every Monday evening from 7:30. If you found us, make sure you let your mates know where we are. You can call to get on air to the Arsenal speaking world. 0207 607 3200 is the number you need. Get you through to myself and Steve Stammers from the Sunday Mirror. You can email us fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal and the hashtag is fansforum. Email from Steve Edholm. Steve says, with Jack coming back to full training, once he is game ready to start, what would you do with our midfield? Arteta was critical last year. Cazorla is critical right now. Do you play all three and drop one to a defensive mid? What would our ideal midfield be like? This great, actually, this, I think I'm right in saying, came up on last week's show as well. And, Arsenal being Arsenal, it's all right. It's actually a problem we will never actually have, because, someone will pick up a knock, someone always does. But of all the, you've said how many, the choices that Arsene Wenger has in midfield, if everybody's fit, and both Jack Wilshere, who's a little bit ahead of Emmanuel Frimpong in terms of returning to fitness, but both of them are back in full training now. They're tackling, they're doing everything. So let's say they're available, and then you've got Coquelin, you've got Ramsey, you've got Diaby, you've got Cazorla.
Diaby for a start. I think Diaby is just, thankfully it was only a slight injury he had, away with France, and I think you're right, a push he could have played Saturday, but why risk him? Why risk him?
Yeah.
Diaby would always be in for me. Wilshere would always be in for me. And I think Arteta would always be in for me, because I think Arteta does that little, he calls him a little general, Arsene, doesn't he? He calls him his little general in centre midfield, and I think he directs things.
So what are you doing with Cazorla?
And put Cazorla in there. As a, 1, 3, you can have it. Yeah, it's not a problem. But I think, as you said, things evolve. You know, matches evolve. And maybe that will never be a choice that Arsenal has to make. Well, what a great choice to have to make.
Yeah. And maybe, you know, it's like you say, things have changed, and Arsenal's thing has always been, you have the feeling it's all about what we do and far less about countering what they do. Perhaps this season there's going to be a little more thought given to what the opposition brings to the party and how we can best set up our team to counter that.
Well, he's got the strength in depth, Tom, to do that. You know, if he wants to have that school of thought, I know that he was, funny enough, believe it or not, it was in the last trophy that Arsenal won, the FA Cup final in 2005, and he went with a 5-man.
Yeah.
And he said he hated every minute of it. Because if you look at it over and over and over again, how on earth Manchester United didn't win that game if you look at chances and openings?
Yeah. The Rokadoke final.
Whatever it was, and Patrick's last kick for Arsenal won him a trophy. Maybe there's a little omen there, if you like, with the emergence of Diaby, because I think he could be like Patrick. I really do. He's only 22, 23, Diaby.
Joined the club the same week as Theo Walcott.
It was in January, wasn't it? It was in January, and at the end of that season, that's when that little nasty man from Sunderland, I was going to call him something else there, but we'll stick to it, broke his ankle, and that put him out for the best part of the year, didn't it?
Yeah, well, he's never really physically.
But now he's kind of back, and he's got that Patrick kind of presence, and he's got that strength. At Liverpool, he's absolutely magnificent. Yeah. He ran the show. Yeah. You know, Joe Allen, who knows, Gerrard, Diaby, absolutely eclipsed them. You'd have him, you'd have Wilshere. Sorry, but wonderful problems to have.
Absolutely. Steve, email us back. Tell us your three, or four indeed. 0207 607 3200 gets you through to the Fans Forum live from the home of football. Malik is in Luton. Malik, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, mate. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, really good, really good. As I say, it makes me ridiculously happy when my team wins. I should be too old for this, but there we are. By the same token, when we don't, just don't come near me for a few days. And really, I should have grown out of this stuff by now. If anything, I'm afraid it's getting worse.
Well, I appreciate that. All I want to say, mate, is I love the way Arsene Wenger thinks about our team. People say, oh, he doesn't buy, he doesn't do this, doesn't do that. But if you put it this way, right, we obviously haven't spent much. We've obviously sold out some of our best players. Like people, I quote, say, oh, Van Persie's gone, this and that. But if you think about it, when we had Van Persie, right, and Clichy and what's his name, Nasri, Fabregas, we didn't win anything anyway. So really and truly, what we have now, I think we've got more of a team spirit. They're well determined. They're actually giving it. I was at the game last week, and they played brilliant. I was really, really happy with Arteta and the way Podolski, his work rate is unbelievable, mate.
Yeah.
You know, it really is.
Yeah.
So right this minute, all I can say is that when Diaby's fit and we get Jack the lad back, I think we'll give it a right old go. And considering how much money we spend and the stadium and whatnot, I think we're really up there. And people like sort of flag us off, Arsenal, same old Arsenal. But I personally think we played one of the best footballs ever.
Yeah.
Now we dealt with the other team, wasn't it, Southampton, and they gave the Manchester club the right old go for them for money. We weren't under pressure at any time. So
no, Malik, it's a really good point. I must say, I think we afforded Southampton respect that Manchester United and Manchester City didn't afford.
I watched the game. Van Persie was really lucky to score. I really do miss him, obviously, because he's a right old talent. I ain't going to slag him off or anything. But like I said, when he was around, we were always depending on him. Oh, where's the goals going to come from? Where's this going to come from? But right now, when you look at it, we've got Javinho, you've got Chamberlain, you've got Jack coming back. These guys have got goals in them. You know, I've seen these guys, like, they actually have goals in them.
No.
Now, the way they play and the way that Wenger rotates the system, basically, mate, I'm always going to back Wenger. I don't care if we win anything. I'm a proper fan. I love the way the team play. Every time I buy the shirts, I go to the matches. And it's a right old entertainment. That's what it's all about, football, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't need the trophy, but, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Malik, thanks very much indeed for the call. I guess, you know, when your club is of a certain stature, at some point it becomes about winning trophies as well. It's about whether you believe that we can, and more to the point, whether we will. But some great points in there. Not least that, you know, because I saw you nodding your head there where you said, oh, it was all about Van Persie, you know, it was all about getting...
It can be.
No,
it can be the focal point of it all, and now...
Well, no, and immediately before that, it was all about Fabregas. The whole of the team was set up for
And
Fabregas.
dare I say, I mean, I don't want to sound blasphemous, it was all about Henry, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but when it was Henry, it wasn't all about him.
No,
It was about the greatest player ever to play for Arsenal. That was the difference.
It was Bergkamp.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was Bergkamp for me.
Bergkamp could say, all right, this is for Thierry, or this is for Robert, or this is for Freddie, or this is for whoever he chose.
Yeah.
And so it was different.
Yeah.
But since, Dennis, you know, Malik's right, it has always, and this group looks more like a group.
I like it. It's got a good balance. It's got a great attitude. And I'll tell you what, it's a hungry team. You know? It's a hungry team.
Yeah.
They've got that little bit of edge. Whereas, from what I've seen so far this season, you kind of think Manchester United haven't quite got that hunger that they used to have. I saw Rooney play, what was it, the first match of the season at Everton? No, he didn't play. Did he play? Yeah. No, he didn't play him, did he?
No,
I
no.
can't remember. I can't remember. But Manchester United is a team.
No, he started Rooney and Van Persie came off the bench.
That's right. And they just didn't look.
No.
And
well, I don't think Rooney's hungry, is he? I think he's full. David is in Stockton. David.
It's just that there's like an edge.
No, absolutely.
Missing that Arsenal have got and they haven't. And
David is in Stockton. David, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Hi, good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Yes, I just want to talk about 3 issues.
Yes.
That I observed from our game on Saturday. The first thing basically is about Szczesny. I do think he is a great goalkeeper, and he will grow up to it. He will go on to be like an Arsenal legend. It can be seen. However, I do think competition is better for him. I do think that the error he made on Saturday was probably as a result of lapse in concentration, and that would probably be solved if there's a lot more competition in their goalkeeping slot. And I think Manoni should have a little run in the team, just so that Szczesny can feel the heat on his back and have better concentration, which will be a lot better for Arsenal as a whole. The second thing is about Podolski. I was really excited to see his performance on Saturday, and I just wanted to know your thoughts. If you do think he can play behind the striker, that's probably having Giroud up top and Podolski behind him, just because he looks like a player who loves to drop back and receive the ball, and he was very skillful. He liked to drive on it and take on defenders.
Yeah.
And I think with that, that would leave a lot of space for Giroud to run to, and would exploit the defense a lot better.
Yeah, go on. You got a third point, David.
Yes, the final point is another question for you as well. Do you think Arshavin could? Do you think this presents the best scenario to start Arshavin? Because there's like a good mood in the team right now. We are getting a lot of victories, and I think this would be a good time to just say, all right, Arshavin, go have a go at this guy. It's a brand new season. There's no Van Persie there, and just go have a go. Just because I feel he still has a lot to offer.
No, it's
my 3 points.
No, David, with that question, he's a talent in football. Let's take that one first, actually. Let's take that one first. The whole kind of Arshavin, for whatever reason, he is an Arsenal player. I've got to say, home to Sunderland, I loved that the crowd kind of, you know, sang his name and stuff when he came on as a sub, and it was almost like there was an awful lot forgiven and forgotten there. Not that a lot of what was being forgiven was, strictly speaking, his fault, but that's by the by. The thing was, he is still an Arsenal player. Has he got a role to play at Arsenal?
Capital One Cup.
Yeah.
Seriously. Would you have him ahead of Podolski, Giroud, Gervinho, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Walcott? Would you drop any of those to accommodate Arshavin?
No, that's the thing.
Choice. Simple.
Well, and if he plays in the Capital One Cup, he can play in the position he wants to play, which is the position...
Well, he normally does that anyway, doesn't he? He might be a bit happy. He's probably got a residence parking permit by now, hasn't he? So that sort of had a few problems for him, isn't it? That's what got me about Arshavin. All he ever did was moan. I'm sorry, he moaned. That's the impression he gives. That's the persona. Maybe he's a lovely guy. Maybe he's wonderful. I don't know. The image he gives is someone who just is not... Who would you rather have, Wilshere or Arshavin, in terms of attitude and everything else?
No, absolutely, although they're very different players.
Of course, I'm talking about attitude.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then the Podolski kind of in behind, that's not going to happen, is it? There's a reason why the majority of Podolski's caps for Germany have been won in the position that he's playing for Arsenal. Yeah. He looks like a man who has learnt that position, and that position brings out the very best in him.
Absolutely. And Arsene Wenger clearly is nobody's fault. He will play him where he can be of the most use. Now, the thing about Podolski is his energy level as well as his talent. He's got the talent, we know that. He's got the ability, we know that. But his energy levels are tremendous, and his team ethic, which is a kind of hallmark of most people who have been brought up in German football, the team ethic. You said it, you hit it on the head with Mertesacker and Podolski. It's not accident that Germany as a national team keep getting these historically 1-0s or 2-1s when it looks like, how did they win that? You know? It's the mentality thing, and they've brought that Teutonic kind of approach. I tell you, there weren't too many defenders who were happy with Jens Lehmann behind them. He never stopped because he demanded the same perfection from the men in front of him that he felt he gave. Of course, he wasn't faultless or flawless, and he put his hands up, but he was magnificent. And he was an invincible. Great influence again. Great character.
Absolutely. Hermann, a German, you could not beat him. Could not fault the fellow. Steve, just speaking of goalkeepers, just very quickly, the last point about the goal. We've talked briefly about the goalkeeping situation, but do you say, OK, Szczesny is our number one, therefore he stays in the team now?
I don't think you can make that sweep. I think I was watching a Paul Lambert press conference the other day on the television, and I think he hit it on the head. Nothing is set in stone in football. Nothing is for certain. If you said to Szczesny, no matter what, you're number one, that's going to have an impact. But like Malik said, I think he's got to know Mannoni's breathing down his neck. And
Mannoni's the third choice keeper, by the way. Fabianski is still ostensibly number two, isn't he?
Well, I think Mannoni's edged in front of Fabianski. Yeah, I really do. I think he's matured. I remember he had a absolutely stunning game at Fulham 2 seasons ago. Absolutely magnificent. I think Arsenal won it with a Van Persie goal, if I'm right. But Mannoni was absolutely brilliant, and everyone was saying this and that. But he kind of then exposed into a bit of, I don't know, his weaknesses were shown up in the...
And he spent the second half of last season at Hull, didn't he?
That would have done him a lot of good. I tell you, that would have done him a lot, as going for a year to Bolton did Wilshere a lot of good.
Well, just getting games week in, week out.
Well, yeah, but at Premier League level.
No, absolutely. All that, Raphael is in Enfield. Raphael, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Evening, Tom. How you doing?
Evening, I'm good. You?
Yeah, not bad, thanks.
You know, glad I support the Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly.
What you got?
I just wanted your thoughts on Gervinho playing as a striker this season.
Yeah.
And the possibility of Walcott playing up front as well.
Yeah, well, let's see. We talked quite a lot about Walcott and him playing as a central striker. I've got to say, I thought it sprung on me. It really did. I looked at the team sheet on Saturday when it came down, and I thought, we're going back to what we did against Sunderland, which was playing Podolski down the middle and Gervinho wide left. And then very quickly you realise that actually isn't how the team's set up. Team set up with Gervinho as the central striker, and I've got to say it was chalk and cheese. I thought Saturday worked. Whether it's going to work every week like that, I don't know, but it definitely worked on Saturday. And I think what's fantastic is what Steve's been harping on about all evening, is that having choices. And I must admit, that choice had never crossed my mind. Gervinho as a central striker for Arsenal. And the fact that it worked, albeit against the Southampton side, who probably limited and definitely didn't work hard enough on Saturday.
And a bad defensively, you know.
Yeah, but they're bad defensively because they don't work hard enough at defending.
Well, I just don't think they're good enough defenders, I'll be honest with you.
But do you know what I mean? It was, you suddenly thought, actually...
Well, Gervinho played a lot of pre-season matches, either practice or training or public, as the central striker, because Podolski was late coming back, was he not? Because of been away at the Euros, so he was allowed, and Van Persie, of course, as well, playing for Holland. And Gervinho played as a central striker in a lot of those matches. And
Yeah.
I was told, watch him playing centrally more often than not this season.
Yeah, well,
he can do it. He's got pace. He's had that adaptation period.
I've got to say, he looked more
It's an
natural.
option.
He looked more comfortable as a central striker
Than he
on
does a right
Saturday
winger.
than I have seen him playing wide left since. You know, he made a bit of a splash at first in the Premier League, but I thought, you know, second half of last season, particularly
got
after he
sent
came
off in his
back.
first game, didn't
Yeah, but you know, he looked a player playing out there.
I
but
think he's a
just-
player. I think he's always looked a player. What you look for, and what the Premier League brings out that the players aren't used to, going back to what Rob Pires says, you don't have that extra second. And in a second, you can either score a goal, or you can get tackled.
Yeah.
Just that extra little bit of time, that fraction of a moment. And Jovino will have adapted.
Yeah.
He will have adapted. He can play centrally, absolutely no danger.
0207 607 3200 gets you through to the home of football this and every Monday night for the Fans Forum. Here's a treat, and I mean that. We're going to cross now to Montpellier, where Arsenal are preparing for tomorrow evening's game against the French champions. The editor of Arsenal.com, Richard Clark, has been at Arsene Wenger's pre-match press conference, first of a new Champions League campaign. Delighted to say Richard joins us on the line now. Rich, how are you?
I'm very well, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Getting a bit of,
Richard.
Good evening, Steve.
getting a bit of sun on your back, mate?
Not yet. I do intend to tomorrow, though.
All right, good for you. That's the attitude. So, Richard, am I right in thinking you've just come from Arsene's press conference this evening?
Yes, not long. He did a little bit for the daily media, the daily newspaper, before the team left from Luton. And when they arrived, he did the standard UEFA press conference with Jovino.
With Jovino, what conclusion do we draw from that? Are we looking at a similar starting 11 to Saturday?
It's difficult to tell, to be honest. I wouldn't suggest that the player put forward suggests anything really. The key question that was asked about Olivier Giroud, whether he would play, and the boss was keeping things very, very close to his chest over that one.
Yeah, I mean, it is obviously going back to your old club. I don't know. I guess some players would be relishing it. Perhaps some players don't fancy it. It's... but Jovino started central and scored twice on Saturday and looked to the manner born, to be fair to him.
He did look very good, didn't he? And 2 goals will give him a lot of confidence. And he said as much in the press conference. I was fortunate enough to speak to Olivier Giroud late last week about going back to Montpellier, and he was very, very positive about it. He said, I had a great time there. They looked after me very well. They progressed my career. I'll be pleased to see everyone after the game.
Yeah.
Until the game is done, I'm doing my best for Arsenal, and he's very, very positive about that.
Yeah. And what do we expect? I mean, they kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest. You think about the money. It's funny, people say, Arsenal don't spend enough money to keep up with the likes of Man City and Chelsea. Well, Montpellier sort of blew that out of the water last season, really, on a shoestring, came from nowhere, and it didn't matter how much PSG had spent on their players. It was Montpellier that won the league, but they've struggled so far this season, haven't you? What kind of game are you expecting, Rich?
Well, that's hard to tell. I was thinking about it, and my mind goes back to Lens in '98, Arsenal's first game in the Premier League, in the Champions League.
Yeah.
And it was Lens' first game, and they were a surprise team in there as well. And Arsenal struggled a bit. I remember it being a sticky pitch. Marco Overmars put us ahead, and they equalised in the last second, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was a typical atmosphere for Arsenal to get to grips with. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was a little bit the same. Arsene Wenger was talking about the fact that they came from nowhere. As you said, they were a miracle club to win the league. And he says that this game, the fact that Arsenal were coming there, the fact they're in the Champions League, has actually affected their start. So it could be this game that's been part of the problem for them coming into it.
Yeah.
Richard, have you been down to the stadium yet?
Yes, the press conference was there, Steve.
Okay, so what type of stadium? Is it like Lens, which was unbelievably atmospheric, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit old style. It's open. Udinese, I remember, was very open last year.
There's not a running track, is there?
Pardon me?
There's not a running track round it, is it? Or are the fans very close to the pitch?
I think they are fairly close. I only saw it from a distance. I didn't actually go pitch side. We went into the bows of the stadium for the press conference. But it was one of these stadiums where there's kids playing small games. Obviously, kids who are attached to the club, the youth teams, etc., were playing around as we came in. So there's a real family feel about it, and it's not a big town club in that sense. And people have spoken about the fact that Montpellier might not be a football town as such. It may not live, breathe football, and perhaps that was true about the vibe I got from the stadium itself.
Yeah, it's interesting if there is that, that difference, because Lens is absolutely a football town, lives and breathes. I mean, they actually get their average crowds at the time we were playing them in the Champions League were bigger than the population of the town. I mean, it was an unbelievable place. Richard, fingers crossed for a memorable night in the south of France tomorrow. And, a win in Montpellier, as you said earlier, Steve, will just set us up a treat. It kind of lifts pressure off straight away. Yeah. Well, here's hoping that it's not another frustrating night. I do remember that night in Lens very well.
Nelka missed a goal very late on, didn't he?
Yeah, and it was a shocking goal we gave away as well. Yeah. But, fingers crossed. We've learnt our lessons since then. That's Richard Clark. Thanks to him for joining us on the line from Montpellier ahead of tomorrow night's Champions League opener against the French champions, which, of course, you can follow with a full match day show here on Arsenal Player. 0207 607 3200 if you want to talk about that game in France tomorrow, or anything else as long as it's the Arsenal. 0207 607 3200 gets you through to myself and Steve Stammers from the Sunday Mirror. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal, and the hashtag is fansforum. Just very quickly, let me remind you, we've got a competition this evening as well. That's Saturday's programme, of course, the 6-1 win over Southampton. Some good stuff in there as well. I've been doing some pieces in here about players.
That makes it quality then.
No, I wasn't going to say that, about players' childhoods, and actually Gervinho, interestingly, was the player in here. If you've taken your programme home and haven't had a look through, just read through Gervinho. Côte d'Ivoire, absolutely, a place called Abobo, sort of on the edge of Abidjan. I mean, it's a fantastic, his is an absolutely fantastic story, and I'm taking no credit for it. It's Gervinho's story. I just help him tell it. But anyway, we've got this programme. It's been signed, not by Gervinho, actually, but by our matchday guest on Saturday, the legendary Nigel Winterburn. And in order to win that signed programme, all you got to do is answer this question. Tell us, from which club did Arsenal sign Nigel Winterburn? From which club did Arsenal sign Nigel Winterburn? We need your name, we need your address, and we need the right answer, please, to fansforum competition@arsenal.co.uk. That's dedicated email address for your competition entries, fansforum competition@arsenal.co.uk. Good luck with that. In the meantime, email from Philippe says, "Hi Tom and Steve, what do you guys think about replacing Mertesacker with Koscielny against City? I know that our defence was quite brilliant so far, and the rule is not to change something that works, but I'm a little worried about Pear's movement in duels between him and players like Tevez, Dzeko or Balotelli. We've seen a little preview of that when he was booked after a foul on Suarez in the first minutes against Liverpool. Besides, I would love to see Vermaelen and Koscielny playing together."
Back to choices again, isn't it?
That's it. Could we just put one thing straight?
I'll tell you what, there are three different players, though, aren't there?
Yeah.
Tevez, I mean, it's three different problems, isn't it? I mean, Dzeko, you would fancy that Mertesacker would be more comfortable against Dzeko. I'm not a Balotelli fan. I'm not saying he hasn't got talent. I just don't know when he's going to produce it, and it certainly cost Manchester City the game here last season.
If Aguero's fit, it'd be Tevez and Aguero.
Well, but I don't know. I mean, again, we're down to choices, but until the Mertesacker-Vermaelen tandem doesn't work, yeah, you stick with it. They're getting familiar with each other's play. Koscielny will have his chance. There will be times this season when Koscielny will be needed. He will play. Suspension, injury, whatever, he's got to be ready. Yeah, that is the whole point of having the squad that Wenger's got. And I'll repeat, in the 15 years since he came here, for lots of reasons, lots of factors, for me, from the outside looking in, this is the strongest squad. I'm not saying the best individuals, the strongest squad Arsenal has had.
Yeah. No, that's a really good call, and you might want to comment on that, actually. I mean, you know, you think about teams like the Invincibles, who when Sol Campbell wasn't fit, who came in? Who came in? 0207 607 3200. Should actually just make one thing perfectly clear as well. That booking against Liverpool was a disgrace. Suarez, don't get me started.
I don't count any booking against Suarez.
Well, to be honest, it was a classic. It was an absolute classic. Mertesacker put a hand on Suarez's shoulder, and bizarrely, the result of that was that both of Suarez's feet came off the ground. I don't know quite how that works. Anyway.
I would detest. I'm sorry, I'm not saying for 1 minute. I think Suarez his character was kind of encapsulated in the World Cup that moment, wasn't it? You know, when the boy missed the penalty. I'm not saying he shouldn't be happy, but you just think, hang on, I got away with it. Yeah,
he got away with it big time, by the way.
Yeah.
Papis is in Birmingham. Papis, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Good evening, Tom.
Good evening.
Good evening, Steve.
Good evening.
I'm going to pile some more misery on you.
Go on, mate.
Yes. We seem to talk everybody forgetting just one man who's been absolutely brilliant last season. That's Thomas Rosiewski.
Yeah.
Where is this gentleman fitting? And the second point is Podolski. I mean, it looks like when I met my girlfriend for the first time, I thought, this is the one. And he seems like Arsenal is the one. The guy is absolutely happy to be around.
Yeah.
Every time you see him smiling, I mean, the attitude of, Podolski is superb.
Yeah.
I just thought, I think for him, he's just saying, why didn't I come to this club long time ago?
Yeah.
I really like his attitude.
No,
and,
Papis, that is a fantastic point, because you can think back to some Arsenal greats, and I think back to Dennis, who came to this club after having been fantastic with Ajax and then 3 very unhappy years at Inter Milan, where people didn't like him. He
didn't like the intrusion of his life.
No, but on the pitch as well. The people who, who was the little Mexican forward he played alongside at Inter Milan, who, was giving him hospital balls week in, week out. And he came to Arsenal and suddenly it was like, this is where I belong. And the result was he stayed here for 10 years and was the greatest player in Arsenal history. Thierry Henry fell in love with this football club. Absolutely fell in love with this football club. And I'll be honest with you, this is the great thing. I'm looking at Podolski. I'm also looking at Cazorla, by the way, and where they've been so far in their careers. And it's like they've arrived at Arsenal and gone,
I'm home.
This is where I'm meant to be. And that is
another
a
name
great
to
thing
that,
to see.
Pires. He's called his son Theo. And he idolises Walcott. And he's got the shirt and everything. And Theo is about 4 or 5, I think now, 4 or 5 years of age. He was here, one of the matches, and I saw him. Yeah, it does. Well, to be fair,
and there's people like that all over the pitch for different reasons. Carl Jenkinson. He's going, this is Christmas every day.
And I think if you look at and I know, sorry, I take on board this is Arsenal.com, but I mean I see things from a more general lowercase c Catholic point of view, and you get those at every club. And before the ones you talked about, there's Rice. Just happy to be at Arsenal.
No.
Perryman just happy to be at Tottenham. Bonds at West Ham. You get those people, and you're very lucky to get those people. And every now and again, there is a mercenary element around. Of course there are. You know them, and I know them. You could name them who just use a club, who have used Arsenal for their own means. Well, that's okay. I mean, that's up to them. But there are others. There won't be a home. Whenever Thierry Henry's in the country, you'll find him here.
Yeah, absolutely.
When Pires isn't in Spain, or I think he's going to play in India or something, which I found very curious. And I said, you just won't get cricket, Robert. You won't get it.
No, and it never happens.
5 days and a draw and you're happy. You just won't get it. He's here. With Jessica and the kids, and Arsenal and the real people. They adopt and they adapt, and they feel part of it. Henry's always here, Pires is always here, and I'm pretty certain if you sat Patrick Vieira down, and I know he's at Man City, and I know he's played Juventus, and I know this is where is high. It's always been.
Yeah.
Always.
But the great thing is you look at players
and
like...
I think, sorry to interrupt, but those, getting back to, I think Podolski will be one of those. I think he absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
And I think Cazorla looks fulfilled.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In the team he's playing, in the type of football, the pace of the game suits him. He's not a kind of Suarez-like diver or anything like that. He wants to get on with it. He can ride a tackle. We saw that at Liverpool. We saw that at Stoke. He's not frightened. And I think with those two, you'll find, I think they'll be here for the next 5, 6, 7 years, easily.
Here's hoping. Tweets on that midfield three we've been talking about off and on. You can tweet us anytime. We are at Arsenal, and the hashtag is fansforum. On the subject of that midfield three, at Jack D. Morris says, if everyone's fit, I'd play Arteta, Cazorla and Wilshere. At Never Settle says, how about all four? Wilshere, Diaby, Arteta, Cazorla. At Sharpovich says, Cazorla, Wilshere and Arteta. At R.O. Scott, a midfield of Cazorla, Wilshere and Arteta could potentially be the best in the Premier League. Steve's man Diaby ain't getting a whiff there.
Don't get me wrong, I mean, there's immense talent in that three. But you need a bully, don't you? You need a presence. You need someone who's going to... I'm not saying any of those three can't, but if you look up and see Abu Diaby and he's got the you're going to be a little bit...
Tell me this.
Think twice.
Cazorla has started playing behind the centre forward. That he's been given that kind of free
license,
What? And he's loving it.
Yeah.
What happens if, say, Wilshere comes back from injury and you want to play Arteta, Diaby and Wilshere?
Yeah.
But you don't want to drop Cazorla because he's fantastic, but you want to say to him, go and play wide right. What happens? Does he, which is, to be fair...
It's possible, but there could be a system whereby you could accommodate him, you know, with Podolski, have some fluency. You know, there's so many combinations. I mean, I'm honestly not evading your question. What I'm saying is, it was interesting when you were speaking to Richard, because I'll tell you now, having covered Arsenal in Europe for many, many years, and, you know, for whatever reasons, injuries, suspensions, you could kind of guess the team. Apart from one position, it would be either or.
Yeah.
Richard's got no idea what the team would be. Yeah. When was the last time Arsenal in Europe that well, I'm sorry, it could be... I think the back four is kind of, or back five if you want to say Chesney. And I think Diaby had come back, having not played him Saturday. I think there was a reason why I left him out. After that, you know...
Yeah, Arteta will play.
Well, there you go. But what I'm saying is, no matter who he picks, I can see what he's doing now.
Yeah, yeah.
Not had that luxury for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
And that's why I say, with not just blind loyalty or silly optimism, I looked at that squad and I thought, he's got cover everywhere. He's got options everywhere. He's got fluency. He can play different systems. He can look, they always say, don't they, look at the bench.
Yeah.
Right. Bring him on, bring him on, you've
got people who can change your game on the bench.
Absolutely. Yeah. And by the way, they've got to put up with it, Tom. They've got to put up with not playing.
Yeah. But they'll get games.
Yeah, they'll get games, but you can't have the ump because you're not... Well, you can have the ump, but you just don't express it.
Yeah.
An interesting little anecdote, if I can just tell you, because that's what's needed. The French team that won the World Cup in '98 was not the best team on the planet by a million miles, or the best team even France had ever produced. I think that was either in Spain or Mexico. I think both those sides were more exciting. But I was talking to Frank Leboeuf, and he said before... what was the French manager's name? The French manager during the...
Yeah, we know,
Michel.
Aimé Jacquet.
Yeah, Jacquet, sorry, I do beg your pardon. And before he named the squad, he called him in to his hotel room. They'd all been together as a group, about 30 of them. And he said, my first choice at centre-back are Desailly and Blanc. I'm letting you know that. You are not going to be first choice. If they're fit and not suspended, you don't start. Can you handle that? If you can't handle it, go home. I won't say anything, I won't make you a bad person, I'll just leave you out.
Yeah.
That's what you've got. And Leboeuf said, well, okay. He ended up playing in the final. And to be fair, not having a bad game in the final. you know. So you've got to have that kind of togetherness, the unit. Okay, you're unhappy, you're not in the team, but you can't let it show.
Yeah.
Because other people will say, oh, look, he's not happy, you know, there's a weakness. We'll play on that, you know. Blah, blah, blah. But if they've got that togetherness, Tom, I can see a really good season.
Yeah, although I'd settle for not having players on the bench who are happy being on the bench. You want them
I said not happy being on the bench. So you can have the you just don't show it.
Yeah.
You don't show it to the outside world.
So Fabregas been talking about that lately, hasn't he? 0207 607 3200 will get you through to the home of football and to myself and Steve Stammers from the Sunday Mirror. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We're at Arsenal. The hashtag is fansforum. Email from James says, hi Tom, just a very quick one. We was at the game on Saturday. Lucky you. Sat in the clock end above the Southampton, the Ham fans. I'm thinking that was the Southampton fans. I was wondering your views on the lack of atmosphere at the Arsenal. We started a couple of songs, but none of the fans got behind us. Even the Southampton fans at 5-1 were louder than the Arsenal. I'd love to hear your thoughts. We have
we touched on that, didn't we?
Yeah, we have kind of touched on that. I mean, you know, and Southampton supporters were sort of moaning about the atmosphere, and you know, you're beating a team 6-1. I think people have got a cigar on it. If you, I think it's everywhere in football now.
Well, I think it's like we said before. I think it's at the big stadia.
Yeah.
You know, the two kind of biggest stadia really are the Emirates and Old Trafford.
Yeah. Is St James's Park different?
That can be a little bit if it's not going well against. They're okay when they're playing Manchester United, Arsenal, and Sunderland, obviously, and what have you. But
so's the atmosphere.
But if they're playing Wigan and it's not going well. The big grounds, it's just because 75,000 at Old Trafford. What is the capacity? 60 is it here?
60 here, yeah. Right. 75 at Old Trafford.
Yeah, they're the two biggest ones, I think. Yeah. In that, because Chelsea's only 45, isn't it? And even that gets a bit kind of, you know, if it's not going well against Birmingham in the cup, they'll. You know, that's just how it happens.
Yeah,
that's a modern trend. I don't think it's. I think it's a perceived. I mean, it goes back to the, you know, Highbury, the library, and I think, which was absolute nonsense. I mean, Highbury was a fantastic place for atmosphere. I can't remember too many. All right, so if the team ain't playing well, they'll let them know. I just think that with the increased capacity at places like Old Trafford, at the Emirates, you're going to attract. Maybe a new type of fan. Sounds a bit. I'm not saying they don't
I'm
care.
not sure about all that though, Steve. Because to be perfectly honest, you know, the Upper West, the Upper East, Highbury, you know, latterly, you know, the boxes behind the clock end, and lots of the new North Bank. You know, there are places in the ground where people want to sing and want to, you know.
Yeah, they do that. And of course, when they move to the Emirates, don't forget, you know, those people are probably standing with their mates, you know, with an accepted bunch, if you want to call it that, for 10, 15 years. And you kind of go, hello, Tom, how are you? Type of thing. Now, when you move to the Emirates, suddenly there's new people. And
no, actually, to be fair, though, the club were great on that. It was really easy. When we moved from Highbury to the Emirates, when it came to getting your season ticket, it was really easy.
You're basically with the same people you were before.
Same people. Absolutely. And even better than that, because what we did, the little group that I've sat with for years and years at Arsenal, not only were we able to sit together, we all kind of like moved up one price level together. Do you know what I mean? And there's this thing where, and I'm sure I'm telling people who are season ticket holders will know that, you know, you can even now kind of appoint one person in your group, as it were, to sort out Carling Cup tickets. Do you know what I mean? Are we going or not? You know, and one person can do all that. And it is. They did kind of. The League Cup, the Capital One Cup. You're absolutely right. That was made easy. I think there are all sorts of other reasons.
I think you're probably right. That might be a factor, might not. But it's a kind of. It's not that there's a lack of intimacy, because this is you know, you're very close to the play here. You know, at the Emirates. You know, there's no reason for it. I just think when you get 60,000 people, it's just not going to happen. And away fans...
Well, it happens in certain circumstances.
Exactly.
Look, it was the atmosphere it was. You know, anybody who thinks back to what it was like, you know, game against Tottenham last season, think back to the game against Man City. There's nobody thinking there's no atmosphere those afternoons. It's just how it is. It's just I think however, that's not to say there isn't stuff that can be done to improve it. That might be...
I don't know how you make people sing.
I guarantee you there's a few ideas out there. 0207 607 3200. Might be a conversation for another day, but I'm sure, like me, you can think of one or two ways of changing the atmosphere a bit. Anyway, Mark is in Birmingham. Mark, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Evening, Tom, again.
Yeah.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, really well, really well. I love to be talking about the Arsenal with you sounding the way you do. Pure Brum, pure Arsenal. I love it. I love it.
I love it too, Tom. I think we've had a great start to the season.
It has been very encouraging, hasn't it?
Yeah. We're going to Man City on Sunday, and I'm quite confident we can get a result there.
Well, I think you're certainly capable. I mean, you know, if you get a good result tomorrow night, which I think you will, 2-0, 2-1, whatever. As I said, you know, the players are there. The options are there. You know, he's got as much choice now, Arsene Wenger, as Mancini, as Ferguson. You know, he's on a par with them. You know, Cazorla and Podolski, and fantastic signings if you think about it. Javino's 1 year on. You've got Diaby fit again. Arteta, there's all sorts of ways he could play. You know, and why not go to Manchester City and have a go at them?
Yeah, Mark, I think we quite like playing there, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't seen us go there and kind of not turn up. Do you know what I mean? Even last season we got beat 1-0, but you know, they got one spawny goal, and I actually thought, and that was when we were still struggling. You know, that was sort of first half of the season. But I still thought, if we've got away from there with a point last season when things were all over the place, I don't think Man City could have felt they'd been hard done by, to be honest. It took one spawny goal to beat us. I'm trying to think what happened. The season before was, our friend running down the pitch. But,
Do you think we can beat them?
Yeah, I do think we could beat them.
Oh, yes.
You think so?
Yes, absolutely. You've got the potency.
Mark, you understand, you know me by now. I actually think we can beat anybody.
You've got the best defence in the league, Tom.
Well, we're defending very well, and we probably have given away fewer goals than anybody else so far this season. Whether that amounts to the best defence in the league, I'm not sure. But I do look at Man City, and I do think that is a defence that we can score goals against. It'll be interesting to see. I'm assuming he'll pick, Company and...
Company will play.
Company will play, but Company and Lescott. But I just, I think there's... I just feel at the moment... You know, we ain't scoring 6 every week, but I do feel there are goals in this team. I do think there's a fantastic mentality.
It should have been more than 2 at Liverpool, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
It should have been more than 2 at Liverpool. I mean, I watched the game live. That could have been 3 or 4. That could have been embarrassing for Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I think Arsenal just got the second goal and just went, OK, well, I would say settle for it.
Yeah.
Let's make certain we don't let them have one.
Well, that's the thing, Mark. I don't know if I think it's one of those games you go thinking, we can win this game, and you're absolutely delighted as long as we don't lose it.
I think as long as we don't lose it, I'll be happy with a point. But also, I was going to say, Tom, if we can keep a good run up to Christmas going, I think we can surprise people this season. So come Christmas, I think we can. If we stay strong, I think we can be title contenders, you know what I mean?
Well, if we stay strong till Christmas, we will have answered a lot of questions by then. Now, I can think of at least 3 seasons in the last 7 when we were very strong come Christmas. In fact, we were very strong going into February and March, and then the wheels came off. So it might be a long... But you're right, because last season, obviously, by Christmas, it was all over anyway. Do you know what I mean?
And by the end of September.
Yeah, absolutely. It was all over by the time we've been beaten. Definitely by the time we've been beaten 4-3 at Blackburn. So you do think we've got a better chance of being much, much closer if we're still in shape.
Mark, I sense a kind of, not nasty, I don't mean it in that way, but I sense a ruthless streak about Arsenal this season. I sense they're not flimsy and fragile, and I don't know if you were listening to us earlier. Those 2 0-0s, I could quite easily, a year, 2 years ago been 0-1 or lose 1-0 at Stoke. I could quite easily have seen both those results, but it was like they've said it's up to them to score because we are not going to let one.
No, absolutely.
By them, I mean the front men. We're not letting them in.
Absolutely. I mean, what's really going to be interesting, well, I would say, first 4 games of the season, although we didn't win all 4, we have absolutely dominated all 4 games from start to finish. Absolutely dominated all 4 games. We will not dominate on Sunday from start to finish. And it's what happens when we're not dominating. It will be a different kind of football match to any that we've seen so far this season. There will be times in that game, however well we play, when Manchester City will be on top. And it's how we cope.
It'll be a different type of pressure. I mean, at Stoke, there were periods when that ball's coming in, you know it's coming in, and knowing it's going to happen. No, but knowing it's going to... Yeah, but that's cool. Man City couldn't win there.
No, absolutely.
Albeit with the help of a...
Should have won.
Everyone's going to get a goal like that this season. But there were periods in that Stoke game when the back 4 were bombarded. But did Manoni ever look in trouble? No, because the defence is organised.
Yeah.
There's a kind of steely kind of resolve about Arsenal this season at the back. And it's like Steve Bold, when George Graham prepared that defence, George Graham, Monday to Friday, would work only with the defence. He didn't care about the midfield players or the strikers. He left them to other people. George worked just with the defence. And it's no coincidence that that was the foundation that Arsene Wenger inherited. I know Bruce was kind of in the middle, but he didn't change it either, did he? So the defence, and it's more than coincidence for me that one of those defenders that George Graham prepared and got ready, that Bruce Rea inherited and kept, that Arsene Wenger inherited and kept, is now organising the defence, Steve Bold.
Well, there was another of those defenders who was the subject of our competition tonight. There we are. Saturday's programme, signed by the one, the only Nigel Winterburn. I asked you, who did we sign Nigel from? The answer was, of course, Wimbledon. Yeah, no, the real Wimbledon. It goes back that far. Yeah, the real Wimbledon. That was the right answer. Thanks to everybody who got the right answer and emailed in. The winner, though, tonight was Richard Andrew from Coventry. So, Richard, that will be on its way to you this week. Congratulations. Thanks very much indeed for all your entries in the competition. Thanks again for all your calls, your emails and your tweets. Thanks to you, Steve Stammers.
My pleasure.
We salute you, Steve Stammers from the Sunday Mirror. I'm sure we'll be seeing again during the course of the season. Just very quickly, tomorrow night, Sunday. Just, 2-0
or 2-1 tomorrow night. We've already talked about it. I think Arsenal will be too strong for that team. I think not one season wonders, but they kind of peaked, and there was only one way they were ever going to go. Having lost their striker to Arsenal anyway, and I think Arsenal win that. Maybe 2-0, maybe 2-1. I can see... I've got a little feeling about 1-2 again on Sunday. Only because there's a resolve, they've got choices and they've got options, and their choices and options that Arsene Wenger has really not had in such variety in his 15 years. I really think this is the strongest squad he's had. Squad, not individuals. They've been better individuals. We've talked about that: Bergkamp, Henry, Pires, so forth. But this squad is strong, and it's got choices, and I think he'll have too much for Manchester City. I think they'll actually win it.
Well, this squad goes to Montpellier tomorrow night. In fact, they're already there. Thanks to Richard Clark for joining us from the south of France. And then it's all up the M6. What will the weekend bring, ladies and gentlemen? We'll find out soon enough, won't we? But you just have the feeling, like Steve's saying, this group is going to go with the right attitude, and with the right attitude, anything can happen. Up the Arsenal!